Hello, I am Phantom Enchantress, and yet again I am here, and I'm looking at Spectral. What is this? It's a new app. I don't really have a lot of faith in it yet. Spectral Seekers. I follow their Facebook quite extensively. It's quite an eclectic bunch of people. I mean, some of them go from, hey, yeah, that's really reasonable, to extreme and unreasonable, and why would you ever freaking do that? Like somebody said they had a doll that had a demon inside of it, and they were saying to put hot water on it or some shit like that, and I was like, okay, you don't understand. A vessel that has a spirit in it, that spirit is alive, okay? It's a soul. It's has emotions, it has sentience, it can decide what it wants to do, just as we do. And to mistreat them is very much like if you were to mistreat a person. Would you fucking do that to a person? No, you wouldn't. So that's just kind of bizarre that people would think, yeah, let's burn the motherfucker. Let's burn it with water. Let's burn it with fire. How about let's not burn anything, okay? First of all, some of us actually spent money on these vessels, and we can't actually, exchange them, and some of these things are antiques as well, and can be damaged if you, also, some of these, they're not out there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, nobody makes them anymore, so you're destroying something that could possibly be a part of history, even if it's not haunted. Why would you do that? Who in their right fucking mind goes around and sets fire to stuffed animals and porcelain dolls? Nobody. 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 Have you ever seen this in The Conjuring? I don't know if you've seen The Conjuring. Have you ever seen anybody do that? Yeah? Yeah? Did that work out? No. Because when you do that, you're letting the evil out. You're letting, if you have not, if you have at any time, made, what you're doing right then and there is either going to be a challenge, or you're going to be establishing dominance. And when you establish dominance like that in such an aggressive way, they're not going to take it very well. Do you expect, if you were to set fire to someone's home, do you expect them not to come after you? Do you expect them? No. They're going to come after you and all your family, okay? You destroyed their frickin' home, So, that needs to be said. You cannot destroy haunted vessels unless you know exactly what you're doing, and many people, I don't think, understand what they are saying, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say, obviously they don't understand the magnitude, and they don't understand what's going on, and they don't understand that not everything is freaking Annabelle, not everything is Annabelle. Annabelle was a very rare case. A very rare and extreme case. A case in which that the only thing that you could do was literally put it away somewhere, where no one could touch it. It had to be blessed like every 2 weeks or something with Ed and Lorraine Warren. That was a very, very specific case. And it is not the case, I can tell you, a majority of people, of doll owners and haunted vessel owners, they're having wonderful experiences, and you're maybe just not looking for it, or you just don't know where to look. And that's understandable. But the first thing that's first, if you think that you have something that is haunted, whether it's your home or an object, do not set fire to it. I recommend. This is a suggestion. You can do what you want, obviously, but please don't set fire to anything that you don't need to, especially in your home, and especially outside of your home, because wildfires have started. That is what happened with, somebody thinks that's a great idea, and they go in the woods, and then, that whole forest is down. And when you live in places like California and such, that's definitely not a good idea. And especially when there are places where there are burning bans. And and also, you don't really know. Spirits have friends as well. And if they can't get a job done, they could just get somebody else to do it. They could get somebody else to, they could say, hey, so and so really pissed me off. Can you take care of them? Now, you may have established dominance in the way that otherwise you've established it in such a way where they're not going to hurt you. But very often, and this isn't all the time, but let's just say sometimes, not often. Okay, let's just say sometimes. Sometimes a demon will know that they can't really do anything to you. Okay, they're not interested. Maybe you're too powerful. Maybe you have too much trauma or something's going on like that. So they think, who can I affect that is going to hurt them? Well, there's pets, there's children, there's your other family members, your husband, your wife, whatever it is, somebody else in your extended family. And they may see that if they can punish you, they will punish you in probably the worst way possible, which will punishing or harming somebody that you know and you love. They know that's gonna hurt you in the worst way possible. Emotional pain is nothing to be laughed about. And when it comes to especially a resident spirit, a spirit that's been there for a while, you don't really have any right to tell them to leave unless they are being disrespectful. If they are being disrespectful and they are being cruel or they are being mean, best thing to do is to find out why. Why are they being like that? Is there a reason, you know? So, yeah, getting down to the nitty-gritty here. First of all, I have to look and switch rule. Yeah. I don't know why they make it so freaking difficult for everything. It's weird. So, yeah, somebody, of course, looked at my post on Spectral Seekers. That's one of the things I don't like about social media at all, is that everybody misconstrues and warps and misinterprets what you're saying. They don't understand what you're saying. They also don't know your tone. I could just be sitting there and saying, well, the thing about this is, and what they feel is, the thing about this is, and I don't know. So I essentially don't know what they are feeling, and I don't know. So I essentially don't know. There's a miscommunication when it comes to that. When it comes to texting and posting and doing the social media, jam. So, somebody said, I said something like this, that I had helped banish a Hatman. Now, in case you didn't, if you had heard this story, I was kind of not, I was on the cusp of it, okay? I wasn't like, I was involved. But I can tell you, I set up my Ouija board, put selenite and obsidian, and obsidian is known to help if you're ever feeling that negative energies are going to be attracted to you or someone else. You can have a little bit on hand. It's very inexpensive, and it will it'll protect you essentially from negative spirits taking over. Let's say you're doing a tarot reading, or let's say you're doing a tarot reading or something like that, and you don't want negative energy to come into the reading, then you would have a little bit of, maybe you would wear it. Sometimes wearable obsidian jewelry is very affordable, especially on Temu and AliExpress. And so, wearable jewelry is usually the thing. But if you have a little pillar or just, clump of it, you can do that. And black in magic, if you don't know this, is protection. Black to us, you think of cursed or something, but that means actually the opposite. It means protection from dark entities that may do us harm. Now, dark entity may not be harmful. It may just be dark. There's many dark entities. For instance, there's the angel of death. The angel of death is a phenomenon. It's quoted in the Bible. It's in a lot of people who have had paranormal encounters have said that they have seen this. It's literally the Grim Reaper. I believe that there are many of them. I have met one myself. And they give off a very ominous energy, like very ominous. And that can be deceiving. That can really feel like when you don't know what something is and it's giving off a really bad vibe, it's the first thing you want to do is kind of take a step back. But the first thing I did is I reached out to this there was an entity. It didn't have legs. It had, think of Dementor, okay, because that's the same thing, or a wraith, kind of. So if you look at Dementors and wraiths and essentially death, they're kind of the same thing. It's kind of the skeletal thing, but in a lot of there's actually a series of books where death is actually portrayed as being very benevolent, and so I believe that these entities are not evil. I think I remember reaching out to this angel of death, and because I was really curious, I was like, "You're here, so let me communicate with you." And the first thing that they said, because they are non-binary, they didn't have a gender, from what I know. But the first thing they did is, they said, I said to them, "You're giving off a very ominous vibe. You're making me sick. Like, you are literally making me sick. This vibe is just a little too much for me." And the first thing that happened is the angel of death said, "I'm sorry. That's kind of just my vibe. I didn't mean to scare you or make you uncomfortable." And immediately the kind of the bad vibe went down. But I really thought, I was a little worried there for a moment, because I was really thinking to myself, am I gonna die? Am I safe right now? But I do bless my space a lot, so I should be okay. I am very well protected as far as spiritually going. I've got dark and light coming. I've got this balance going. So, yeah, it's actually pretty cool. But they can be very benevolent. So, kind of what an angel of death does is it's like a death Abdullah. It's like somebody that makes it easier for them to pass on, and then if they want to pass over the threshold, otherwise they want to go beyond this life and go to the next, whatever you think of is your nirvana, heaven, paradise, wherever they need to go. We don't really know where they go. We do know that some of them stay behind because of either choices that they've made in their life, or just the fact, I really don't know. I don't know everything. I don't know why, if they are given this choice, but I would like to think that they do. So, take that with a grain of salt. But the angel of death will come there and kind of guide them. We'll say, okay, well, this is your life, and if you want to stay here, you can. And you can go there. And I think they're also brought in as when they're needed. So they're not always there. Not every spirit has a angel of death that comes to them. Perhaps it's not needed. I know that, when it comes to spiritual matters, they must have a system. and that I am not aware of because I'm not a spirit. So I you know, there's only so much that I can comprehend, but I am learning new things all the time, things that have blown my mind. And at this point, when it comes to people saying, no, this isn't the way, or you can't do this or you can't do that, I have found later that that's completely ludicrous, or it's completely off, or that was kind of the case, or it just wasn't. But with the Hat Man that I did, it was more of, I got the obsidian, I got the selenite, put it on the board, I knocked 3 times, heard the knock, and I made it because I knew this was I knew that this wasn't a Hat Man. And some people on Spectral Seekers thought that I was actually talking to a Hat Man. No, it was a demon. It wasn't a paralysis demon. This was a demon that wanted to possess a child. I called upon the angels of old, the angels that had guarded the Garden of Eden with fire, with swords of flame, and I said, please, and I did whatever it was. The spirits told me, they instructed me, my spirit guides. I'm not just saying the spirits, I'm talking about spirits that I trust, that I've tested, obviously. And and they walked me through it. They guided me through it, and I made it. I know what I'm doing, you guys, you know, so it's like, but these people are just like very skeptical because they don't understand. They says, how can you be so sure the Hat Man is on the other side? I thought Ouija boards are used to contact spirits. Ding, ding, ding. Guess what? A demon is a spirit. Yes, it is. It's a spirit. It's a different kind of spirit, but there are many different kinds. And so, yeah, and then somebody else, literally, commented and said, I have never heard of anyone contacting a Hat Man with a Ouija board. They're considered shadow people in general, and no, Ouija boards don't work with shadow people. And I kind of wrote back. I said, are you aware? You know, and of course, you know, I probably gave him too long of an explanation, but them, he, she, I don't know what gender they are. They have a username, so sneaky of them, isn't it? So, but yes, one of those things is he's never heard of it. So that's the thing. I was like, so I kind of just like replied to him. I said, look. I said, look, just because you have never experienced that or ever done that does not mean that it's not possible. Because you're going to find with anything that you learn about, that you're going to learn something new that's going to flip that idea on its ass, okay? You're going to find that there's something that maybe isn't quite consistent with what you're doing, and the more you delve into the paranormal, you're going to find that nothing is for sure and nothing is for certain. Nothing is absolute. And I said that. And I have said, and I kind of said that, do you know that this is a divination tool? This can literally contact any spirit that you want. That's why it can be dangerous, because the possibilities are literally infinite. A Ouija board can be it can be a wonderful tool to communicate with the spirit realm and those that are beyond our comprehension, and that goes for shadow people. And I don't know, do you want me to contact a shadow person? I can. I have contacted Wendigos, angels of death, lots of demons, angels, and other spirits and other demonic entities that aren't demons, and angelic beings that aren't angels. I have experienced so much. So just because something is something that you haven't experienced or heard of does not mean that that's not a thing. Okay? You know, I used to laugh. I used to be very skeptical about people contacting the dead. Okay? I used to be very skeptical of that. And they used to, but the thing is, I didn't want to be that person that, like, whenever I had a spiritual belief, or I had something that was important to me, it was scoffed at, it was laughed at, it was doubted, it was torn apart. And so your faith and your belief is very sacred. So I would never ever tell somebody that if they are contacting their lost loved one, I'm never going to tell them that that's not who it is. Unless I've been told otherwise, or unless they're asking me. Maybe they asked me, you know, but if they're not asking me for advice or the validity and accuracy of whether or not this spirit is who they say they are, I'm not going to go out of my way and tell them that that's wrong. And that's the thing about it, is you got to be careful about what you say, because this is the internet. You think that you put something out there and delete it, it's going to be there forever, okay? Take celebrities. You could delete a video, you could delete a post, you could delete a frickin' text. Guess what? It's still frickin' there. It's not going to disappear. Your words have power as well. They say that if you were in the middle of space, okay, in outer space, and you talked, your words would keep going and going and going and going until something stopped it. If there was nothing in the way, and the universe is infinite, so your words could infinitely go farther than you would have ever thought possible. So yes, there are things that are beyond our comprehension and are infinite, and just because, and no, Ouija boards don't work with shadow people, why not? Why not? Who says that we can't? You know, I just hear a challenge. When you say no, my inner child just says, no? You mean, hell yes. Yeah. Did you challenge me? I take your challenge. I accept your challenge, sir. Or madam. Whichever they were. I don't know. I'm not really going to say their username because I respect their privacy, and I did not get permission for them to show their comment on here. But you know who you are. And thank you for the comment. So, if I was being aggressive, sorry. It's been I've had some stress, okay? I've had stress. Nothing to do with you, sir. It's fine. It is fine. You are fine. It's fine. But yeah, I don't understand, you know, when it comes, especially when you're in a paranormal group. And if you're in a paranormal group where, I mean, just think of ghosts and things. That's what's so thrilling about paranormal, is it's something that you don't understand. It's something that's beyond your comprehension. And if you're in a paranormal group and you're telling people, no, nothing like this happens, nothing like that can happen, this is a paranormal group. Spectral Seekers is a paranormal group to support other people that have had paranormal experiences. So, this is my experience. It might not be your experience, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. And just because you think you're right doesn't mean that I'm wrong. You know? In my life, my opinion is right. To somebody else, it's not gonna be. So, maybe in your experience, you've not have you ever tried contacting shadow people? Because I'm gonna say, the internet is not really reliable when it comes to paranormal, okay? Like, it can open our minds to things, but it's not 100% accurate because it's made by people who are never 100% accurate, and it's control, and it's being manipulated through technology. Okay, and technology is not perfect either because we created it. So if you have not heard of people contacting shadow people with a Ouija board, give it a try. Try it out. Don't just say no. Be a yes man. Who knows? It might be a wonderful experience. I've done things that people told me not to do. One of the things, well, it's not people, it's just Hasbro. Hasbro saying, don't do it in a graveyard. I did it in a graveyard. I was so happy afterwards. Oh my gosh, I got a dopamine boost. It was so amazing. And it's such a safe place, too, because it's just surrounded by people. It's surrounded by... it's surrounded by houses. So, I never feel that I am alone, particularly. And, the graveyard is just like... I love it. I love it because... it's the perfect spot, and you can find a good spot and you get comfortable and you get the sun shining in your face and the little breeze going in, and you're just like just nature, and I think I took my shoes off too. I took my shoes off. I think maybe I took my socks off. I don't know. I might have. And then I grounded, and it was awesome. It's very nice. So, Hasbro, I'm not gonna say. So that's the thing. Take everything with a grain of salt. Even take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Don't take anybody's word with. Don't take the internet's word for it. What I'm saying may not be even. When I hear other people having experiences about paranormal stuff, they're like, oh, I've had this experience. Am I going to go up to them and say, no, your experience was wrong? Yeah, because I had this experience. That's kind of like going up to someone. You know that scenario where someone says, where the girl says that, the young woman says, well, I have autism. Oh, my cousin, my 5-year-old nephew has autism, so I don't think you have autism because you're not like my 5-year-old nephew. Okay, that's a boy and they're 5 years old and that person's 30. So, yeah, it's kind of like that. There's just not enough comparison. Yes, we're both people and yes, we both have experiences, but our experiences are not the same. They might be similar, but they're unique because we experience them. So, be careful about what you say on the internet because people may take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to take this the wrong way. I'm not. I'm actually, I think this is a very stimulating thing, and I'm actually very thankful that you made this comment because now I have something I can do. I will contact shadow people. I don't know what shadow people are, but we'll see. We'll see what shadow people are. They seem pretty chill. I know a couple shadow demons. They're pretty cool, so... They don't do much. Shadow demons just watch. They just watch. That's all they do. If I was terrified of that, like how many times would you be like, they're watching me? Do you realize they're watching me? Is that the worst they can do? Hey, you can watch me all you want. I hope you like the show. There you go. And also another thing, with anything is having somebody that can mentor you and having somebody that has like a second opinion, because obviously sometimes our opinion can be a little misinterpreted, it can be warped, and it can be not really what's going on. And we have to realize that we cannot measure and we cannot judge other people's experiences with our own. We can't measure the validity and accuracy of our own experiences with somebody else's because it's a completely different set of circumstances, completely different person, different environment, different state, different country, different everything, okay? Everything is, and every spirit is unique, and it's a misconception that people think that Ouija boards only contact those that have crossed over. You can contact any kind of spirits, but I was told by my spirit guides, the ones that I trust, there are some spirits that are not reachable, okay? And this is a really good thing, is to ask and use your intuition. If you can ask somebody, maybe you have a psychic or a voodoo priestess or somebody, a spiritual guide of some sort, that will tell you something, that will tell you whether or not something is possible. For instance, I consult my spirits and say, is it possible for me to reach this spirit? And sometimes it's not, because some spirits don't want to communicate with this. They have literally moved on. They have gone beyond the beyond. They don't want to communicate with you. They don't want to, because sometimes communicating with you means they would have to return to Earth or return to this plane of reality, and they don't want to do that because they're having a wonderful time wherever they are. They're swinging on the rings of Saturn right now. Okay, I don't know what they're doing, but I'm sure they're having a wonderful time. Okay, you know, having the ultimate freedom of, yeah, I'm sure they're just fine. Okay, rest assured. But I can tell you, these souls are alive. Okay, so when you get something, when you bring a haunted vessel into your house, it's alive, it's sentient, it's feeling, it's living. It's not just a toy that you can just throw away. But also keep in mind, it is a toy. It is gonna wear out. It's gonna get old. The buttons are gonna fall out. There's gonna be cracks and all sorts of things. That's not gonna bother them for the most part, unless it's like broken. That's why I typically like dolls and toys that I can actually handle, because I like to be able to have, I don't know, I just like the hands-on thing. The thing about that, of why spirits inhabit objects and dolls and things, especially dolls that you can touch, is because you constantly are touching them. For instance, this is my newest doll. Trixie. Say hello to Trixie. Trixie is, she is a dark fae. No, she was not inhabited before I got her. I actually just got her at a Walmart not too long ago. That is not anything paranormal, that is a fly. The fly! So, if you notice kind of the fluidity of this, how it moves, like she's very limber, you can see that, and she just kind of has like this flow to her. She can move around, and these are from 2013. These are from 2013. They've continued even to this day to make them. They are from City Toys. So City Toys is like their version of what would be American Girl. I do believe this is a brand that is owned by Walmart. It's a conglomerate company or a subsidiary company. And they are posable. And the way that you do this is, the more you move them, the looser the joints are going to be. So, and these are meant to be handled, to be manhandled, okay? So if you drop them, it's not going to be a big deal, because they're durable. They're meant to be touched. They're meant to be handled. And then you've got, we have another one here. This is Amelie. She is the same kind of brand. These are from My Life. You will actually see them at the Walmart. If you go into the doll section on Walmart, there's usually just a section for dolls. You will see these on the shelf. So if you notice how kind of just like, she's just like loosey-goosey here. She's loosey-goosey. Because she's been played with. She's been loved. You can tell that somebody enjoyed her before they they you know, sold her on Mercari. And Mercari, I do not recommend getting things from Mercari. They there's literally not a lot of descriptions. There's not very many descriptions at all. It just says doll. Message me for more information. So it could be anything. And that's a little bit concerning to me. She was an empty vessel when I got her. But then I came across, there was this Mexican doll, and I'm being politically correct. Believe me, I am. I am being correct. I am being politically correct. It was from Mexico, okay? And it was plastic. It was made out of misused plastic. The fingers were all broken. This is from Mercari, and her feet were falling apart. There was just nothing. It was going to be a chore to have her look really nice. Now, she was beautiful, but there's just a certain sadness. And the first thing that I did is I picked up this doll, and I felt my hand go numb. Like, I felt my hand literally go numb. And I just thought to myself, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, I knew it was probably going to be haunted. Like, I did. It wasn't listed as being haunted, but I had a feeling that it would be. Because I heard it kind of, when I looked at the picture, it was telepathically sending a signal to me. Like, I immediately heard something. And so I brought her home, put her in a place. I was really happy because I had straightened up my desk in such a way so there was room for her. And I put her up, and it was really, cool. And so I was sitting here watching a movie with my spirits, my dolls. And the next thing I know, I look out in the corner and I just see in my mind's eye, I see a stream of tears just going down her face. Just going, just like, and just this immense amount of sadness from her. And I said, you need a new vessel, don't you? You need one. And she was like, yeah, but I don't want to be in much trouble. I don't want to be in much trouble. And I was like, that's not any trouble. I will give you a new vessel. So I said, I have this vessel. And so she took to it, and she has been there. I did not really bind her to this vessel. She just was very eager. She was eager because her other vessel was just, it was falling apart. It was sad. It was going to shit. And I didn't, and she had a very tragic life. She had lived in many idols and those little deities that you put, in the Catholic Church and those churches. She would be the one that was responsible for making them bleed, making them move. It was kind of supposed to promote fear. It was some sort of ploy that she said that Lucifer had told her to do. That it was something that, and unfortunately, a lot of times, now I believe that religion can be a really good tool to find your higher power. I think that there's a time and a place for it, and if it's good for you, it's good for you. But it can also be a means of control. And in a lot of cases, if you're thinking this, I can tell you there's a lot of evil that can be brought into religion. And when evil people get a hold of it, it's often, take serial killers. There's a lot of serial killers that studied the Bible due to the fact that they knew that it was a really good tool to control people. So religion is a double-edged sword. It can be really wonderful, and then on the other hand, so she was there as a means to kind of deceive people and thinking that these deities, so to speak, the idols and such, the saints, as they were called, the saints, were actually like alive, and she hated this job. She hated it because it was lonely. It was a miserable thing. So one day she just took off and she never came back. She is not a demon. She is not any sort of like succubus or anything, but she is very she doesn't drain any energy that I know of. Not at all. She's like very she gives. She's a giver. Let's just say that. She's a giver. She's very affectionate. And I love her. And I'm glad that she has this nice new, but as you can see, very, very fluid. You know, it's just really easy to move her around because she's been played with. But then we kind of get to Beatrice here. Beatrice, on the other hand, ooh, dear, her hair. Beatrice, on the other hand, she's very selective of who I tell her story to, so we're not going to really get into that. Beatrice is, if you can see this, I have to like wrench. I mean, it's kind of a chore because these two legs, they want to do other things. So and it's hard, as you can see, the resistance that I have to kind of do this. This is just sad. Okay, this is just tragic. This is a doll that is meant to be touched and handled, and the more you handle it, the easier it's going to be, and it's going to be all loosey-goosey like Amelie here. And that's the way that you're supposed to do that. And so and they can take a lot of pressure. But I've been trying to kind of do this as to get her kind of it's kind of greasing up the work, so to speak. And she was neglected a lot, and I cannot think of, it just appalls me. It really does. It makes me very angry. The seller, the person that sold her, I don't know their name. I assume it's a man, but I can't say for sure. I cannot say for sure if that's what it was, but as a precaution, whenever I buy something on eBay, I will get my spirit board, or the Ouija board, and I will contact that spirit just so that they know that I am okay, that I'm an okay person. And so there's less apprehension when they come to my home, because I've introduced myself. I say who I am, what I'm about, what I like, and that kind of thing. And I'll be very direct, and I can tell you that most of the time these spirits, they totally vibe with me because I'm putting my energy into the board, and they can see me, they can hear me, and it's just a wonderful experience. So immediately when I spoke to her through the Ouija board, she was very, like, I said, okay, you don't have clothes. Yeah, the seller didn't even give her fucking clothes, okay? These come with clothes. They come with clothes, okay? And then you buy more of them. You can buy more of them. You can buy sets of them for $25 a piece. A whole sets. Like 18 pieces for $25. Pretty good deal, I would have to say. And so I said, I don't really have the money right now to give you clothes. But I will wash your hair. I will make sure that you're clean and everything like that. And she said, I don't care what you give me. I don't need clothes. All I want is a home. And I just felt this overwhelming sadness, like sadness, like somebody had been alone, had been all alone in the world. And I immediately connected with that. I was like, gosh, I would be lying if I didn't know how that felt. I think we all have experienced that, even in a crowded room. Loneliness is something that, it's like depression. It's not something that can be solved all the time. Sometimes through depression we isolate ourselves and make ourselves lonely, but sometimes we are lonely in a crowded room. As Robin Williams said, some people are lonely in a crowded room. You know, um, and because you can have people that are there physically but are not there for you emotionally, and that is a type of neglect. If someone is not there for you emotionally, that's neglect. It doesn't matter if they're gone, if they're gone in Timbuktu, if they're not mentally and emotionally there with you and taking care of your emotional needs as well as your mental needs, that's not that's not that's not a relationship. That's not it doesn't matter if that's your spouse or your parent or whoever it is, your roommate. If they're not there for you emotionally, that's just, to me, um emotional connection is more valuable to me than anything that you could give me materially. You can give me all sorts of material possessions, but that doesn't make up for um, emotionally being there. That doesn't make up for it. So that's what this with Beatrice. Immediately, I just kind of, so eventually I got her, and her hair was just in knots. The first thing I saw was she was absolutely beautiful. Like, when I saw her on eBay, I thought, I have to have her. Those eyes are just so vibrant. They're such a vibrant green. I love it. But the seller was just a real piece of work, okay? I want to say all sorts of nasty things, but um, I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be the better person or the bigger person or whatever. I'm supposed to be emotionally evolved. Um, but it angers me. He literally threw her in the basement or the garage, because she had apparently just gone like this. Like, she was like this. Her body was up. He heard some rattling and she was just like this. She tends to move around when you're not watching. That's kind of her thing. Um, or when you're half asleep, or when you need somebody to comfort you. She'll move around. Or sometimes when I hold her up like this, I did this once. I held her up. I went like this. There wasn't really enough momentum for her head to be going there. The window was open, but there wasn't enough wind. Believe me, to do that, you would have to go like this. Yes. You would have to do that in order to. So, wind is not that versatile. But I held her up, and she turned her head as soon as I opened her out of the box. She opened her eyes. She went like this, and then she closed them. And she was like this. She shouldn't have been opening her eyes at this point. When you're like this, you shouldn't be opening your eyes. So I did that, and then there was one occasion where I had a necklace, and because you give gifts to spirits, and so I had given her a gift. She at first was like, no, I don't need a gift. You've already done enough. She was like that. She was like, I don't need one. You washed my hair. You did this and you did that. And she was very grateful. And, I gave her this necklace. This was a very special necklace. It was a necklace I got from, Curiosity, Oddities and Curiosity Expo, which is where it's just all the witchy stuff, dark stuff that you would get. And these are things that you can't get anyplace else. They're very rare items, taxidermists, all sorts of stuff. There's freaks and geeks and witches and bitches and all sorts of people that come together from different backgrounds, and it's really just a comfortable place, especially for those that are more witchily inclined. So if you're practicing magic, or you're into tarot, or you have that kind of thing, that's a very welcoming place for people like that. There's Wiccans and pagans and Christian witches and things like that. So, very, very friendly for all sorts of backgrounds. And so I went there and I got this piece of glass, and it was shaped, it was made of recycled materials, and it was a glass from an old ballet studio. And so I woke up a little bit, and I knew that this necklace was on the bed, but I woke up with it in my hand. And all I can tell you is I was half asleep. I was sitting there. My hand was like this, and I kind of tilted it a little bit. And then all of a sudden, so it was kind of like this a little bit. And I wake up and it's in my hand. Okay, just one moment it was there, and the next, one moment it wasn't there, and the next moment it was in my hand. I don't know. Some of these things I can't document, okay? But it was definitely one of those things. Another time, she was all the way over here. Okay? She was about a foot, about a foot and a half away from me. She was like this. The next thing I know is I hear this rustling and kind of scuffling, and I'm like, oh, did something fall off the bed? It kind of sounds like something's going across the bed, or is, if something had fallen off, you would hear that kind of rustling of the bed sheets. So, the bedspread and all that. And so I did that, and I look over, and she is right here. Like, she is, there is a foot, there is less than a foot between us. There's like 8 inches between us. I'm just like, okay, why were you over, you were over there, and now you're over here. And I do believe she was getting progressively closer as well, because beforehand, but, I kind of, like, I was moving around a little bit on the bed, you know how you are, you wake up and, you move around a little bit. So I was thinking, it's quite possible that, when I moved, she, the way a bed is that it's never quite level. So when you move, something else is probably going to move closer to you. It's that kind of thing. So I thought about that, and I thought, it's probably, she got closer because I moved. But, after closing my eyes and then waking up and hearing that sound and going, I was just like, what was that? Look over. She's just about right on top of me. But there was a good reason. It wasn't like she was trying to get close. It wasn't like some ominous Annabelle thing. It was more of like, I was not feeling well, and I had I was not feeling well at that time. And I had a stomach bug. So I was just, oh yeah, I was in agony at this point. And so, I was thinking to myself, well, hopefully, whatever it is will solve itself and I'll be fine. And I think she had asked, some of my spirits had asked what was going on, and I said, yeah, I've got this issue, blah blah blah. And they said, oh, I'm so sorry. And then here she was right on top of me. And the first thing I did is I washed her hair. I got some argan oil conditioner, and then I got some Dawn soap, and I washed her hair. I got all the tangles out by hand, and I did it with a brush for 30 minutes, and I washed her hair, and the first thing that I just started humming and doing whatever I was doing, and the next thing I know, I feel like somebody is going like this, touching my hand, my cheek with just their fingertips. And it was a warm sensation. It was a very warm and soothing feeling. And she said, Thank you so much. Thank you. And I've actually had her in my dreams. There is a beautiful woman with long flowing hair like this. You don't know how much hair she is, but she has a fucking ton of hair, okay? I would brush her, and then I would find that there was another layer of hair that was knotted. It was a chore. It was a chore. But yes, I've had dreams of her. She's very active, very chatty. But she can also be very quiet and very powerful as far as spirits go. And she's definitely an ally. And when I feel her, when I hold her, I feel like I'm holding a person. Like, I really do feel like I am connecting with a person. And we have to remember that making connections with anyone is really important. But with spirits, it's even more so. And we sometimes mistake emotional attachments with emotional connections. Emotional attachments mean you think that you need them, but you don't. Emotional connection means I've made an effort to connect with you emotionally, and you are making an effort to connect with me. You're receiving this love that I'm giving you, and then they're giving it back. That's an emotional connection, and there's usually an effort between them. Sometimes there's some times where you might not give enough, but everybody struggles and they have their struggles, so you would continue to do that. That's an emotional connection. Now, on the other hand, when you have this friend, let's say you have a friend, okay, you haven't seen them for decades, okay, you haven't seen them since high school, let's say, and they're falling under some really hard times, okay, and you maybe they told you about it, maybe you follow their Instagram or their Facebook, and you just feel for them because they have it so tough and it's so rough, and you're just like, oh, I wish there was something I could do for them. But then you kind of have to realize you can't solve everybody's problems. And really, what has this person done for you? Have they been paying your bills? Have they been making an effort to connect with you? It's not meaning that they're a bad person. It's just you are important. And sometimes giving your help to someone is making yourself less, and that's not what you need to do. So really differentiate, is this a person that I really need to help? Is this a person I am capable of helping? Is this a person that I can help without compromising my sanity and my happiness? And don't feel bad if you can't help someone. But that's an emotional attachment, because you're thinking to yourself, oh yeah, but this person did this for me so many years ago. Have they done anything recently? Yeah, if they've not done anything recently, there's really no reason. I mean, I have friends that I know I care about and I love and I don't really keep in contact with, but it's because, things have happened, she no longer has Messenger, or we don't have her phone numbers anymore. There's reasons for that. And people change, and there are distances, and there are many things that come into play, and you can't always be that way. And there was somebody on Facebook that was literally, saying how I don't understand, nobody's texting me and I text them and they don't text back. And I was like, do you realize that it's not always possible for people to text you? People are going through their own struggles. And it's not too much to ask to give you a text here and there and again, but it's really hard to help someone that's drowning when you're drowning yourself. Have you ever tried to help a drowning person? They pull you under with you. just to get up. So that's not conducive for, being healthy and that kind of thing. So sometimes people get, they get ghosted because of this reason. And, I try to spread awareness, but, not everybody can be there for you all the time. And I've had people that were very demanding, like, why aren't you texting me? I was like, probably because I'm sleeping, or, hey, I have a life, outside of Messenger. I mean, there was a time where I could just probably dedicate my entire life to random people on the internet, but that time of my life has passed. So, but I do understand. The thing is, I understand the perspective of these friends, but I also understand the perspective of her, of wanting someone to just acknowledge that you exist. And then, but that's what's sad to me, is when you have a doll like this, a beautiful, beautiful doll, and you throw it away because it moved a couple of times, it blinked at you or something. I mean, she hadn't threatened him, really. And this person actually lived in a haunted house. It was actually legitly haunted. And he pretty much just said he hated her. He hated her, and that her spirits went berserk when she came in there. And I was like, well, spirits are alive, dipshit. They have sentience, and they have feelings, and they have preferences, and sometimes there are people's energy they don't vibe with, and it's probably your energy. Yeah, it's probably your energy, because he was literally saying, I'm gonna say he, because I think it's a guy. And he was saying, I hate her. Please, if you want her, take her. Do not give her. Please do not give it to a child. Okay. Do you have any idea that probably every single toy that a child has had has probably been haunted at some point? Yeah. Have you seen that where kids are just so taken by their toys, and they're just sitting there and they're like, this is CD, this is Pixie, this is Macabelle, and this is Rael, and you're like fucking 5 years old. How do you know? How do you know these things? How do you know? How does a child come up with these names for these toys? So I don't think it's always the case, but I think that there's something to be said about that. When kids talk to their toys, it's quite possible that they're inhabited by a spirit. Not necessarily a bad spirit. Because when you have a doll like this that's meant to be played with, there's a lot of social and emotional connection that's formed. You're touching it, you're putting it against your skin, you're putting the clothes on it, you're making sure that it's not going to fall off the bed, and you're having little adventures with them. And yes, it may just be an overactive imagination, but how does a 5-year-old child come up with names like Rahiel and Chekhov and all of those things, those really strange names that they can't even spell? There's something to that, and I think the thing to it is that it's quite possible that, and this is a theory, I think children have the sight, they have the shining, they can see things that others don't. And this has been recorded numerous times, of children going and saying that they're speaking to Rahiel, the angel, or that they're talking to this man, and they will give specific descriptions of what that person looks like. I saw a 5-year-old child actually say, "Who's that man in that tree?" "What man in that tree?" "The man that's hanging from that tree. He's like 3 years old." He wasn't even 4. He was like 3. He was 3 years old. and he was seeing those kind of things, and you're thinking, oh, they must be disturbed. No, this kid seemed perfectly normal. And it could just be a hoax, because, you know, this is the internet. Everything could be a hoax at this point. We can't even tell nowadays. But I think there's something to be said when it comes to I can't imagine being, well, yeah, I can't imagine, but you have a toy that's given so much love and absorbs so much compassion. It becomes a very it becomes a loving vessel, and it becomes safe for them, because that child is giving them all the attention, all the love that you could think of, and then all of a sudden that's taken away because they grow up, or maybe the child dies, or something happens. And don't ever assume that because if a entity is, you know, inhabited by some sort of demon, don't ever think that they lack emotional intelligence. That it would be a grave mistake. And this is a suggestion, but I suggest, please don't underestimate any sort of spirit, whether it's a shadow, a demon, an angel, a freaking hellhound, a hat man, whatever it is. Don't assume that they don't have emotions because they're dark, or because they're mysterious, or because they're a demon. Okay? I know this is thrifty, okay? We were watching Stephen King's It, the 2017 version, which I like a lot more, with Bill Skarsgård, and he said, you know, it's really such a pity. And I said, what's a pity? And he said that he has to kill children. I was like, what? And this was the point where Georgie had been pulled under, his arm had been ripped off, and he was being pulled under the sewer by Pennywise. And so he was like, I can understand adults, but not children. And I said, do you find children to be innocent? And he said, yes. He said, yes. And no, I did not use a Ouija board to do that. I can hear them without it. I don't need a Ouija board, thank you. But I have many to spare. Many to spare. Why? Because I can. And come on. How could I not buy this? How could I not freaking buy this? Okay? I don't care if it's pre-owned. I did purify it, though. I put a little bit of selenite on it for a couple of days, and, you know, just to make sure, you know, I don't, you know, I don't think there's any bad energy on it, but you never know. You never know. That's the progression that I take. I purify the board after I have a session, just in case something does happen, which it doesn't usually. I have never had a bad experience, okay? Like, because, you know why? Because I've strived to have good experiences. And there's a lot of power when you feel something and you want something and desire something, and you also think it, and it's all co-aligned. Spirits can feel that, and sometimes it will attract certain spirits. And there's something to be said. Like, for instance, a friend of mine was talking about Wendigos, and I thought, you know, it'd be really cool to meet a Wendigo. So I was looking up things on my phone that had to do with a Wendigo, and couple minutes later, no doubt, I met a Wendigo. Came to visit me in my house. I don't know why, but it did. He did try to scare me a little bit. He tried to scare me just a little bit, and I said, look, I know you don't want to hurt me, because first of all, you're in this house, and I don't allow my spirits, my protectors do not allow anyone to come in here that has ill intent. And I believe that. And he finally kind of gave up the whole shock factor, and he said, yeah, I was curious about you. I said, well, I'm curious about you. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of you. And we have since made a pact of friendship, and we are friends. He, and I will sometimes go to his land, and I will bless it. And I will get my drum and bless the land for him. And he has specifically said that he actually thanked me. He said, thank you for blessing the land. I was like, no problem. What are friends for? So yes, I make friends with... I know, I want it... Oh, you know what? There's a Beetlejuice one. I want a Beetlejuice one. I want the Beetlejuice one. I really want the Beetlejuice one. There's a Beetlejuice one, and it's Hasbro, and this is my first... Oh, I should probably show it to you, too. I showed it in the last live, but... Yeah. So this is pre-owned. The only reason you wouldn't want to do this is if, like, you know, if you're really concerned about energies. I know there are witches that are like that. They're just like, don't let anybody touch your tarot cards. I'm just like, what? Just don't be weird. So this is the board itself, and this is the other side of it. And then it has actual instructions. It has actual instructions. Never use the Ouija board if you don't believe in the upside down. Never use the Ouija board near Hawkins National Laboratory. That's good advice. Never use the Ouija board and have your best buddies around. Okay, I got my buddies. I don't do Ouija boards alone, you guys, of course. Never leave the planchette on the board when you aren't using it. Bullshit. Do you know how many people actually use, like, there's this one guy that actually helps, it's called the Museum of Talking Boards, and his name is Gene Orlando, and he also has a great selection. He regularly uses Ouija boards, and he says that he has put the planchette on the board and nothing has happened. And he doesn't believe that it contacts the dead. He believes it contacts the subconscious, which is similar to what tarot cards do in a way. Tarot cards don't tell you the future either. I thought that too, but then I realized, no, that's not what happens. But yeah, this is the mystifying oracle. Oh, it's a very blurry. Don't do that at home, because it actually has like a little needle. Don't do that. I was showing you what not to do. Obviously, I was telling you what not to do. That was not what you're supposed to do. So when I watched the show, I didn't realize this was a Ouija board. But then it kind of makes sense that you would just make a Ouija board out of this. I prefer wood because wood is natural, but this is kind of the... There's glare, sorry. Ooh, I can see you. Don't mind me. I'm not very... This looks like a face. That's just weird. It looks like a face. And then never forget to say goodbye to any otherworldly powers you might reach. Yeah. You can verbally do that, or you can just, do it on the board. I have quite a few Ouija boards that are around. I have a Vincent Price. Most of mine are wood. Okay. If you're gonna buy a board, best to do something that's a little bit fun, but also quality. This is cardboard. I'm sorry, but my witchy powers don't really feel the cardboard. Sometimes, I don't know. I'm gonna have to use it more, probably, to get used to it. It's really important that you kind of get used to it a little bit. And also, it prevents me I can't even put the planchette, because this is what happens. It's not staying, as you can see. It's just like, it makes it to the point where it's impossible to do that. So, thanks, Hasbro. Thank you. Thanks for nothing. No, I I didn't actually buy it full price, and for that reason, it was actually pretty good. The only reason it was as cheap as it was is probably because of this. It had a little bit of wear and tear there. But eventually, if you have a Ouija board, it will kind of just it will meld to your energy. It's fine. I don't think you need to be too concerned about that. But I like I like the I'd have to say, I have gotten boards from Ukraine, from Etsy. I've gotten them from Istanbul. I've gotten from frickin' Temu, which was a mistake. And I actually bought one at a Curiosity and Oddities Expo in Virginia City. So, that was a big mistake too. Um, No, it was worth the experience, but it was very hot and the elevation was like almost at 10,000 feet. So, um, yeah, I wasn't feeling too well when I got back down on elevation. I was like, I don't feel. I felt like I had done a marathon at some point, and I was all nauseated. So that was poor planning on my part. I admit, but next time it will be better. It will be much better. But in case you don't know about Oddities and Curiosities Expo, um, it's literally where anything morbid or creepy or weird or rare would be. They got freaks and geeks and witches and bitches and all sorts of people that are it's kind of the time where you can wear your corsets and you can look gothic, and you can just fit in. I mean, there's this guy that literally has everything tattooed and pierced, and he split his tongue open and done actual surgery on his face to make him look like a snake. Nice guy. But he wants, he fits right in. That's the thing. It's kind of like, and it's all over the world. It's all over there. Captain Howdy says no. Captain Howdy says no. Yeah. Um, yeah, I would personally wouldn't want to do that to my body, but that's just me. That's just me. You know, I typically wouldn't want to do that, but he says, Captain Howdy. That's funny. Yeah, I personally would say no to tattoos and piercings because, first of all, I have very sensitive skin. Secondly, I just don't want to mutilate my body in that way. I think when I was a teenager, I just decided I'm never getting a tattoo or piercing. I have seen people that have gotten piercings. I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful if you got a tattoo, but because it's good for you, but personally, I wouldn't do that. I don't care how witchy I am. It's just not my thing. I'm sorry. I'm not into that. I'm not into pain. It's pain. I know beauty is pain, but that's just a little too much for me. Thank you very much. I don't think I want to do that. No, I don't. Yeah, Oddities and Curiosity Expo. They also sell taxidermy stuff. It's really cool. They're very expensive though. um, uh, I almost bought a taxidermy snake, and it was in a jar, and I almost bought it, but they were having some issues because of internet and Wi-Fi. I mean, they're in the hills, so if you don't know about Virginia City is where Ghost Adventures got their name on the map. They got some footage from Virginia City. It is a mining town. It is a ghost town still to this day. Even though it looks like it's really populated, all of those people that you see working and acting and doing all of that, they essentially go home. So around 10:30 to 11 o'clock, all of those people are gone. And it's just everybody's alone. It's just all alone. So it's a ghost town. It is. I mean, it's really just it's a tourist trap, really, but it is an awesome tourist trap. I mean, it's got an old town saloon, it's got all sorts of things. The sidewalks are made out of wood because apparently the Mexican and Chinese immigrants, I'm being politically correct, I'm trying to. The the political so the Chinese and Mexican Americans, I could say, they were getting this sludge out of the ground as they were mining for gold, and they said, we don't know what the fuck to do with this stuff, so we're gonna put it on the sidewalk. And they said, are you daft? You know, they kind of were looking at it and they said, why? That's frickin' silver. You're lining the streets with silver bricks. They're like, really? So they took the silver and they left town. Wow. And that's why I love immigrants. I just love them. They also pay taxes in there. They have built America as we know it. So I have no prejudice against immigrants whatsoever. We were all immigrants at some point here in the States. So it's kind of like, who am I to judge? Person's a person. I don't care where they come from, what their religion is. It's a person. I'm gonna respect them regardless. You know, if you don't have a green card, I'm not going to I'm not here to send you back. I'm not the deportation police, so it's fine. But they yeah, they just took off with the silver, and now the streets are cardboard. Well, they're wood. They're not cardboard. They're wood. But they did that, and it was so it's very, very haunted because of the mines, and there was a lot of accidents, a lot of things. There was some factories where a lot of people died as well, fires, and so it's very much a paranormal hub. And I went near the Mackey Mansion. I did not get inside. I wasn't able to afford the VIP tickets because you had to pretty much get them at the first of the month, kind of thing. And I would have loved it because there were all these, just gorgeous women with these corsets and these great legs, and they were just they were gorgeous. And I was just like, I want to go there because these are where the cool people, those are the cool kids. And they got the tour of the Mackey Mansion. I got to be in the heat, partially in the shade. It was outside. It was an outside event, which should have not have happened. I mean, it was 90 degrees out. It was getting to be 98 degrees out there, and it was, yeah, it was bad. But I enjoyed the best thing that I enjoyed was the people. I really enjoyed the people because the people were just really, I vibed with them, and they were just awesome. They had similar backgrounds. They were the same age as I was. It was just really, but after about 2 hours, I was kind of like, I'm feeling the heat. I'm feeling it. I did get a really bad sunburn, but I was okay. You know, people kept asking, you know, my friends and my family were like, are you okay? You're really red. You know, what's going on? And I was like, oh, it's fine. I'm burnt evenly. It's fine. I'm burnt evenly. So I don't really feel it. Which was true. I really didn't feel it that much. I mean, when a sunburn is like in a specific spot, it's like when you burn your hand on the stove. It's agony because it's just that one spot, and it just keeps throbbing and burning and just burns. And then you also have to consider when you burn, like from the sun, you continue to burn. So the best thing to do is to take a shower, to kind of, you know, lukewarm water, just so that you cool yourself down, and do that, and then put some lotion on so that you are not dry. And that's usually the best way to do that. But I didn't like. But I got some really good things, and I have to say that if you're gonna go to a curiosity and Oddities Expo, probably you should save money, because saving money is really, because that stuff is not cheap, okay? They're not giving you things, it's not like on eBay where you can buy something for a great deal, or on Amazon, and then you're like, oh yay, 2-day shipping. No, but a lot of the stuff is that they sell are, it's essentially, they can be huge. They will take up huge warehouses sometimes, hotel rooms and thing, you know, the hotel lobbies and stuff. And it's very, it used to be a small thing, but now it's a big thing. And if you're not sure of whether you want to go there, check out Carpetbagger, Jacob the Carpetbagger. He's a really good, he is a YouTuber that I've been following for the last 10 years. He's gotten me through some really tough times, and his just, he goes all over the South to museums, wax museums, he goes to haunted attractions, he's a massive horror fan as well, and he is a great guy. He's one of my heroes. And he took his wife to the Curiosity and Oddities Expo, and it's just adorable, you know. He and his sister-in-law, and it was awesome to see that. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I gotta go to one of these. This because I had heard Oddities and Curiosities Expo, but I never knew what it was exactly. So, but YouTube is a really great way to look at things like travel. When it comes to travel, if you can't experience something, you can experience it through someone else's eyes. And you know, there was a time in my life where I couldn't go out and do those things, you know, because I was too young, or I just wasn't in that position, or I just didn't have anybody to take me to those places. So I would watch a lot of videos like that. But as you can see, I have actually some new vessels, haunted vessels, besides this is Bob. Just Bob. I don't know why. His name is Robert, but he is a Raggedy Andy, and he was owned by a paranormal investigator, and they had a house full of haunted objects. And sometimes when you have so many things in one place, you run out of room, and you also can't always dedicate your time to all of these objects. And when it comes to haunted objects, especially that are sentient, I mean, spirits are very sentient, and they can be very much like children, in that aspect that you need to be responsible for them, you need to make sure that their needs are being met, and sometimes it just gets a little too much. So this person lovingly gave them up on eBay because he was not very happy. He was throwing fits, actually. He was throwing things around the room and was not happy about his situation. So one of my, this is my, wait, where is she? There she is. So this is Grace. Grace is a little raggedy, is a little tiny Raggedy Ann. And she specifically told me that she wanted she's actually one of the first haunted pieces that I got. She actually specifically told me that she wanted to have a Raggedy Ann or a Raggedy Andy, and I was looking because they were very expensive. Some of them didn't even look right. And I was going on Etsy, I was going on eBay, I was going everywhere to find something, and we finally found Robert here, and I connected with him through a Ouija board, and he was very mischievous. He specifically said that he was, you know, common misconception. A lot of people think when they speak to demons that they're going to be deceptive and they're going to lie to you and deceive you. From my experience, they will just say, I'm a demon. I'm a demon. That's what I do. How you doing? You know, it's just like, they will say it right away. Wherever you are, they'll just say, I'm a demon. They will be sometimes very brutally honest. It's only the now, yes, demons will lie. Sometimes they won't tell the truth. Nothing is for certain. Um, but the one thing that I see is, I love Raggedy Ann, and Raggedy Andy. I grew up with stories. I grew up with the books. I grew up with the movie. I had one myself, and I don't know what happened to it, but I didn't really. It wasn't until 2014 when Annabelle came out that people started actually fearing these things. And beforehand, it had only been known by the paranormal community about Ed and Lorraine Warren. And Ed and Lorraine Warren are very mysterious. The more I delved into their story, the less I knew about them. And the things that I came up with, I don't even know if they were true or not, because some of these people aren't even alive to tell us the story. Lorraine died not too long ago, and Ed has passed away since then too. So there's not, and from according to the Catholic diocese, otherwise it's kind of like it's in the Vatican. They said that they did not have enough evidence to back up a lot of their claims, and that may just be from their perspective. They weren't there, and some of the cases they were hardly involved with, but I don't doubt their validity. I think there were probably some things that they did, but Lorraine Warren actually came forward and said that she kind of was, that her husband was faking psychic abilities. So there was a little bit of that going on. And I'm going to say anybody that professes that they have psychic abilities and they are on a large scale, otherwise like Long Island Medium and that kind of thing, or they have their own show, they're probably not the real deal. There are people that have psychic abilities and that they do have visions. One that's actually credible, for instance, if you've seen the show Medium, Alison Dubois was actually a person that did serve as a DA, in the DA, and she helped solve hundreds of cases, and she was the real deal. But very few that are coming forward and saying that they have it. For instance, the Long Island Medium, all she is an expert at psychology. So, for instance, the way that you hold yourself and the way that you present yourself can tell your appearance, can really show what kind of person you are. It can only show so much, but she knows what you want to hear. So that's not psychic. That's just, I've learned how to be Sherlock Holmes, and I can tell that your grandmother wants to say hi to you, that kind of thing. And I think that that's wrong. I can say, yeah, I have some psychic abilities, okay. Do I go around advertising it? Do I make money from it? No, I don't. It's not like Charmed where I touch something and all of a sudden, I have a vision. It's not, I'm not like a Harry Potter, I can see the beyond. It's something that it's one of those things. It's like when you look at something, let's say that you look at a picture, in psychology, they say, what is your first thing that comes to your mind? Now, I've noticed this when I focus on an image and say something like, okay, let me look at this image, something will come to my mind. And if I focus a little bit, or I allow myself to see certain things, I will. But it's not like I can't turn it off or I can't do it. It's not like one of those things where I just can't turn it off. I just have these visions, and then be like Game of Thrones and foaming at the mouth, and it's killing me. I don't do that. Okay, that's not what psychic abilities are. That's not what Ouija sessions should be. You should not be possessed at any point during a vision and during that. And if you want to know, like anything when it comes to psychic abilities, it's just, you know, you go with the flow and things come to you. You know, when you look for answers, you're going to find them. It's as simple as that. You could do the same thing using Google. I just choose to use my mind. So, no, not everybody has abilities, but a lot of people don't realize is the one thing is a Ouija board is a divination tool. It is, there are an infinite amount of spirits that you can reach with it. And that's why it can be dangerous. It's not always the case. I think there's always an exception when it comes to things. There's not always sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes it's because some parent decided to flicker the lights for the show. Sometimes it's just because you are amplified, because during a Ouija session you have somebody else that's also scared, and there's something to be said about that. When you are scared and someone else is scared, you become even more scared. Let's say that let's say when you're having an experience, you do it one time, you're just by yourself, you can individually think about, okay, this is my energy, what am I doing, why am I scared, what's going on, what am I seeing, and why is this scaring me? But when you're with another person, it amplifies that fear, it amplifies that. And I'm not saying that people aren't having paranormal experiences, I am, but I think people underestimate the actual magnitude and the ability, the just the overall power of a Ouija board. It is powerful, but it is not for skeptics. If you're a skeptic, it's probably not going to do anything for you, because if you're not interested in talking to spirits, then heck, don't get it, don't use it. Put it on your wall and display it that way. Make it decor. That I know that some people will do that. But also another thing is it's a multifaceted tool. It can be just used as a communication device. That's mainly what people want to use it for. But what they don't understand when these kids stumble into this and bring a Hasbro board out and think, let's play a game, is they don't understand that these spirits ain't playing, okay? Because when it comes to, I think what they don't understand is the fact that a Ouija board can not only communicate, it can bring spirits to you. It can say, okay, I want to talk to you, come here. It can also open a portal so that the spirits can come through. And if you don't know who you're talking to and you don't have a good idea of who you want to talk to, you're opening yourself to a lot of possibilities, and not all of them are going to be good. And there are infinite possibilities when it comes to the spirit realm. There is probably a spirit made every day. There is probably a soul that's lost every day. So, and there are shadows, there are elementals, there's demons, there's angels, there's all sorts of things that could come through. And it's quite possible you might get a good one. Yeah, you might get a good one. But the chances, it's just one of those things. It's that one exception of what might happen if you do that. And one of the reasons people have negative experiences is because, first of all, they're surrounded by negativity, maybe. Secondly, fear. They are fearing what they don't understand. But also, kids, being kids, they don't understand that it is a divination tool. This is a tool for somebody that is essentially comfortable with spiritual stimuli. Meaning, if a spirit comes into the room and has this overwhelming wave of whatever it is, apprehension, happiness, whatever it is, you're just going to take it and you're going to say, that's cool, that's awesome. But also communication. This is a communication device. You should be communicating. You should be able to say, hey, you know what, I really enjoy talking to you, but you are really overwhelming me. You are coming on too strong. You're too strong right now. I can't deal with this. So that can be the problem right there. Is sometimes, the kids don't understand that. And there's anything that spirits value, it's sincerity and being genuine. If you state exactly what's going on, because if you come into a room, let's say that you're a paranormal investigator, you come into the room and you say, okay, motherfuckers, I'm here. A spirit is just going to look at you, and they are not going to look at your outward appearance. They're not going to look at your outward display of confidence. What they are going to see is any kind of insecurity, any sort of fear, any apprehension that you're feeling, because they communicate through emotions. So they're gonna feel that. They're gonna know when you're bullshitting them. They can see you on a molecular level, which means they can see your organs, they can see your skeleton. If they wanted to, they're capable of it. I had a spirit that told me that they saw things on a molecular level. That's Geordi LaForge shit right there. So I saw that. And it just was like, but then when you come into there, what's going to happen is you're going to face that spirit, and that spirit is going to be like, if your body language is going like this, but your energy is going, I don't want to be here right now. Ooh, that just moved. Please don't do that. So just be honest. Just be like I will go to a spirit and like the first time, I think this was like the first kind of demon that I actually actively went to talk to. And I went there and I said something like, I'm feeling kind of nervous. Like what? And I said that I was nervous. And immediately, I think things kind of just, I calmed down eventually. And when I calmed down and realized that it was okay to be nervous, I just became very comfortable. And the demon became very comfortable with my presence as well. Because I have a very comforting kind of energy. I have an energy that a lot of, I guess, demons, particular kinds of demons, like to vibe with. It's just something that happens. I've had numerous demonic vessels that I've had. I've had this one, as well as, where did he go? Oh, there he is. He's right there. And I had him, and he, and the first thing, this guy was throwing shit around. And this guy, he was moving, it's crazy. He was, moving around. He was moving positions and giving people nightmares. First night I had him, no nightmares. Because I told him that. I said, if you're going to give me nightmares about demons, it's not going to work, because I like clowns. You're going to give me dreams about clowns, I'm going to wake up with a smile on my face. So, nice try. So I did not have any, I didn't have any dreams of demons or clowns or anything like that. And he, on the other hand, is pretty mellow. He has not actually, he's not moved anything around, actually. I want you guys to move things around. No, just joking. No, I don't need them to move anything around. That's not a good thing. I don't want to. Thank you. Yeah, so I do not require them to move things around, because I don't believe in that whole thing to perform. I heard this from a very experienced board user, and Karen A. Dahlman, if you've not looked her up, she's awesome. But the thing about her is, yeah, she said if you're doing like a Ouija session, and is the best thing is not to say show me a sign, because that can be a challenge, and that can also, it's also really hard for spirits to interact with our environment, so they may not do it at all, you know. So I'm a firm believer, if you're in a situation where there's a spirit, don't ask them to perform, because first of all, it's really hard for them, and secondly, if you're not aware of what kind of spirit you're speaking with, that may be very, very problematic. Because let's say you're during a Ouija session, you say, show me a sign. They're gonna say, if they know that you have an insecurity and they know that you're not quite as confident as you should be, they're gonna say, bitch, I'm gonna show you a sign. It's gonna be the sign of a lifetime. Oh yeah. Oh, you want some action? I'm gonna give you some. And you're gonna hold this for the rest of your life. And that's just what happens, because people don't have any organization skills. They don't realize, okay, so there's infinite spirits that I could get in contact with. Why don't you just choose one? Yeah, just choose one. Just choose one of them. Okay, just choose one of them. But, you know, just choose one. Just choose one spirit. And that way, you know, now, it's quite possible that if you contact someone with a Ouija board, you're probably not gonna, you might not get what you want. You might get another spirit. But to wham down a spirit board and expect to get a good session without even knowing who the hell you're talking to, that's kind of like calling up a random number and expecting to get Domino's pizza. You're not going to get a pizza. You're going to get a person that's probably is not going to be very happy about you calling them. Maybe they might be nice, but that's a kind of a risk you take. We don't live in the 90s anymore. We're not prank calling anybody, but that's what you're doing when you randomly just do that. And people, as I said, kids don't understand. They don't differentiate the fact that this is a very powerful tool. You are, it is not only opening up, it can not only open up a portal, but it can also invite spirits in and bring them to you. It is you know in Harry Potter, how they have a wand that channels their energy? That's what a Ouija board is. Yes, it channels your energy. So when you put your hand on a board, you're sending out a signal to all the spirits everywhere. Do you want to send a signal to everybody? That's like, oh my gosh, that's like if you, let's say that you're on Facebook and you decided that you want to do a live, which I used to do that. But the thing is, I want to talk about Ouija boards, okay? Now I have really conservative Christian friends that might not like that. And I also have some friends that I haven't contacted in a while. And if they saw that, they might not be happy, or they might have some questions, or they might give me some smack about it. So I might not want to do that. But the same thing goes for a Ouija board. I might not want to display my insecurity to the whole world. The whole entire... So all the spirits that are out there, I'm going to tell you, I am scared. And now all of the demons in that vicinity know about it. Good job. Good job. But rather, when you narrow it down to just one spirit, there you go. You do it, you just narrow it down to just one spirit. That limits the possibilities. And also it doesn't make it completely safe, but it makes it safer because you wanted one spirit. Okay, you called upon one spirit, not 10 million of them. See what I mean? See, yeah, yeah. And but people do this, and they don't understand. They're like, it's dangerous, it's dangerous. And when people say don't play with it, yeah, don't play with it, don't meddle with it, because you don't understand what it does. If you don't understand how something functions, probably shouldn't be using it. It's like getting into a car. But the thing is, using a spirit board without having any idea what divination is, and not having any experience with spirits, is kind of like reading. Is kind of like finishing Algebra 1 and expecting to do rocket science. Okay, you're going to know the basic mechanics, but there's a lot of things that you need to know about rocket science. One of them is trigonometry. Another is calculus. You're going to have to learn that. You're probably going to have to do Algebra 2 as well, and there's a process that's in that. So, yeah, just because, you know, you have a board doesn't mean that you know how to use it and that you should use it. Now, I can't stop you from doing things. I can't stop you from doing that, but the best thing to do is to do it in a space that you're comfortable with, home, preferably. And if you feel comfortable in a graveyard, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done a Ouija board session in a graveyard, and it was fine. I was fine. It was a wonderful experience. Nothing bad happened. I'm still alive. And I'm doing pretty well emotionally. My head hasn't spun a 180 like in The Exorcist, and I'm not spitting out pea soup, and I'm perfectly healthy, okay? So, and I can tell you the whole cast for the movie Ouija, or Ouija, they did they did Ouija sessions with a spirit board, and they all survived, and they are all still acting today. So, yeah, I know that's not saying much, especially when we got a lot of PTSD going. But yeah, if you've got PTSD involved with the Ouija board, don't use it. Another thing is just read the room. Are you in a very active place? Because if you're in an active place, it's just common sense. I mean, if you're in an active place where there's a lot of spirits, probably not a good idea to get a Ouija board out, because, as I said, a Ouija board is a communication device. You don't need to summon them at that point, so that the summoning thing is null, pretty much. But, you know, spirits are very social, so they may bring friends with them. I have some demons that bring their friends over, and some of them are a little bit weird. I'm just gonna say, I don't, you know, there's one particular demon that just likes to grab my ankles and lunge at me for no apparent reason, and it is it was very unsettling. I didn't like that. I said, please don't do that. And I have repetitively told her that. I said, Sheila, please don't do that. I don't like it. And I say it just like I'm saying it now. I don't say, I don't like it. I'm not being aggressive. I'm being assertive. I will say very plainly, I don't like that. I don't like that. She's stopped doing that. Now she's lunging at me. But it's becoming less and less frequent. She's realizing that it's not working because she's doing it too often. It's like, oh, you're lunging at me again. Okay, alright, that's nice. That's fine. You do that. I don't know why she has to do that in the bathroom, but okay. Well, I'm not in the bathroom. It's like the bathroom is like kind of shut a little bit, and so she'll kind of just come out of the darkness of the bathroom. So it's kind of a unsettling thing, but there you go. But just read the room. If you're in a place like, what do you feel right now? Do you feel that is there an ominous presence? Because if you're in an ominous presence, that might not be the best thing to get a Ouija board out. And also, are you seeing physical manifestations? If you're seeing physical manifestations, there's no fucking reason you should be using a Ouija board. And they're whispering to you already. They're already trying to communicate with you. You don't need the Ouija board at that point. And if you're in an active place already, there's no reason for you to be like, summon me, show me a sign. No, don't show me a sign. Do you realize how weird that would be? If that's like going to the theater and sitting in the audience and say, put on a performance for us. We're actors. Of course we're going to put on a performance. That's what we're here for. We didn't rehearse for 3 to 6 months for nothing. We did this for a reason, and I suppose that you did too. So that's going to be a little bit weird for them. But also, putting a communication device or anything in a space that is already inhabited by spirits is not a good idea, because this is just without permission. It's like if you were to go into somebody's house, you didn't know them, maybe you met them a couple of times, but you decided to pull out a microphone and say, here you go. Yeah, here you go. Talk to me. Who are you? Oh, I'm so-and-so. You know me. No, I don't. Why are you in my home? What are you doing to my home? Why is your equipment in my house? That's gonna be a spirit for you. Now, on the other hand, that's real paranormal investigators will keep going to a place just so that they get used to their energy and get used to their company, that kind of thing. So when they do make videos, or when they do actually have recordings, that it's going to go well. Because if you just go to a random place, slam down a Ouija board or a REM pod or whatever equipment that you've bought and just expect to have a great conversation, you're not. Because for one thing, you don't know. It's just, you've disrespected their space. That is their space. That is their home. That is like their room. Even if it's a freaking graveyard or a freaking shed that's falling apart, that's where they live. You don't mess with people's houses. I don't know about you, but you don't mess with people's houses unless you want trouble. Same thing goes for haunted vessels, okay? I have had people, I actually posted this on Facebook, and people were telling me to burn it. I'm like, I don't burn money. I'm not Elon Musk. Okay, I know Elon Musk. I know I'm American, okay? But we're not all rich bitches, okay? We don't all have money. We don't all burn our money in a pile to appease the money gods, okay? I don't believe there are money gods, so that really wouldn't do any good anyway. So, it's just like, then there were some people, somebody had a doll that was inhabited, not possessed, inhabited by a demon, and they were telling her, it was a porcelain doll, and they were telling her to put hot water on its arms and legs. I'm like, what? Would you do that to your Barbie doll? Would you do that to a person? Would you set somebody on fire just because they frickin' moved something they shouldn't, or said something they shouldn't, or gave you a bad vibe? No, it's not frickin' normal. Do you set your phone on fire after having a bad conversation? No. So why do you think that's normal behavior? First of all, if you don't know anything about witches don't burn. The only thing they burn is incense, Palo Santo, and sage. That's the only thing they burn. Maybe they might have they might burn some wood, but they don't burn people. Okay, that's Wickerman shit. That's not real life. Okay? There are different kinds of witches, and all of them have different backgrounds. Some people believe in the Norse gods, some believe just in one god, some are actually Christians and profess to be that. It's a very interesting thing. Witches can be anybody and anyone at this time. And there's not, like, sometimes a witch is just somebody that is just a little bit offbeat, and they don't really like organized religion, and they want to have their own, they want to worship their higher power the way that they want. And that's perfectly alright. Doesn't really matter who they're worshiping. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter to me. That's why I don't sit there thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what are the Satanists doing? What are the Illuminati doing? What are the Masons doing? Oh, because it doesn't matter. You know why? Because they're not doing anything to me personally. Okay? You know, they're not putting any curses or hexes on me. And when was the last time that you heard a witch actually, doing something horrible, setting fire to someone's home or doing that? Like, you don't hear that. You hear it with other organizations, you hear it with other, Christian denominations, but you never hear it from witches, because witches at one time was just the woman that would birth your babies. A witch sometimes would be somebody that would know something about plants and would know this will cure warts, this will do this for you. They were just wise people that were maybe a little bit offbeat. And to be honest, all of those witches that you think were burned, they weren't burned in Salem, okay? There were no witches most of them, there was one witch that was burned in Salem. The rest were hanged. And none of them were witches as we know it. I don't think that they were. If they were, I'm sorry. But most of the time it was due to land. They wanted the land, so they would torture that woman until they admitted something. And this is from actual research. You can look it up. But if you do believe that one of your ancestors was a witch and you're very proud of that, then fantastic. Maybe she was one. And then she was a martyr witches are martyrs too, because they essentially, during the Spanish Inquisition, sometimes a witch was just somebody that just believed something different outside of what the Catholic Church told them to believe in. They didn't worship Satan. They didn't do anything. I am a witch. I don't worship Satan. I don't allow Satan into my home. I'm sorry. There are Luciferian witches out there. I haven't met any of them firsthand. There's been a couple of them on Facebook that I've encountered. It's just a little bit weird to me when they come to me, because I come from a very conservative Christian background myself, and they're just like, Satan told me it's going to be a wonderful day today. I am a daughter of Lucifer. I'm like, yay! I'm gonna sage my clothes now. I'm feeling kind of dirty. But no, I do not, I am what you would call a Christian witch, which means, I follow, I believe in Jesus and I believe in God. That's as far as I'm gonna go. But I don't worship other gods. There are those that worship other gods. There's just so many possibilities when it comes to witches. Everybody is different. And the reason a lot of people are afraid of witches with the pentagram is because, I'm going to tell you, the pentagram itself is not evil. So the Church of Satan was established in 1969. Do you know the pentagram was around for thousands of years before that? Before Christianity was even a thing. And it meant all those points, the 5 stars, mean that you are being protected by your higher power. And if you want to look at it this way, you're one with nature and one with your higher power. You're one with nature, and you're one with who you are, and you're one with I don't know, whatever you think is God, that kind of thing. And the same thing goes for Baphomet. Baphomet is not an evil thing. It was adopted by the Church of Satan. So if you see somebody that has that emblem, it's probably not because they're Satanists. It's probably because they identify as a witch. So, and in a lot of places in Europe, it's quite common. So it's really more of a peaceful symbol. It's very peaceful kind of a symbol. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Do I have it everywhere in the house? No. But I'm not offended and insulted. It was kind of weird at first because, there was that stigma. I had been told a lot about witches and what they were, and then when I met them and realized, oh, they're just people. They're not putting hexes on anybody, and they're just people. And the witches that I've seen are pillars to their community. They help people. They give advice. They don't do a bunch of mumbo jumbo. They do the things that they do affect how they live their life. They don't go out of their way to put curses and hexes. And in fact, if you tell that to a witch, they're going to say, that's just insulting. I would never do that. That's not my style. I don't do those kind of things. Because, like everybody is unique in their own beliefs, and we all have our own path. And the way that I see it, whether you believe in a higher power or you don't, that is your path. And it's not my responsibility to tell you that your path is wrong. That is your life. You can live it the way that you want to. You are a person. I'm going to respect your choices. Unless, of course, something has impressed me. Or, unless, of course, you're doing something that's really completely stupid. Or really unreasonable or unsafe. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I might warn you that it might happen, but I'm going to allow you to make that up for yourself. But I can tell you one thing is for certain: witches are not going to eat your children. They're not going to kill you. They're not going to hex you. They're not going to do anything, because most of them have shops, and they are the things that I've seen that witches do for people are just amazing. They give people voices. They will pray over people. They will give them little spell jars and things. And I can tell you, there's something to go with that if you get something from someone, and it's really mostly about belief. And really, if you believe that something is going to help you, it probably will. Faith and belief is very powerful. And really what's going on with witches is witches realize that they are powerful, and they realize that they can use that power to help not only themselves but other people. And that's what I strive to do. So when I go out of my way, I'm not expecting money, I'm not expecting gifts, I'm not expecting anything. I do what I do, and I'm not sitting out somewhere in a booth and saying, I'll give you psychic readings, come here. I am just using my knowledge that I know so far to help other people, and that's kind of what I strive to do, is to spread awareness about that. It doesn't really matter what sexuality someone is, what gender they identify with, or what religion they are part of, or their political view. A person is a person, and to snuff out to have that light missing in the universe, it will be greatly missed, because we are interconnected in ways that we don't even understand. And sometimes that one little star may be the only thing that's guiding us, and when it's snuffed out, we are consumed in darkness. And I strive to know that darkness isn't all bad. We are both dark and light. And I think if we can embrace both sides of us, we can find that balance. But we can also find that people are people regardless of their background. And I strive to be respectful. This is my motto. I respect people until they prove otherwise. Now, do I stop respecting someone? No. What I will do is I will say, you know what? I gave you this kindness. You gave me disrespect. I'm going to step back. I'm going to bring the respect back to me. And you can do what you want. That means I'm drawing myself away. I'm not making an emotional attachment to this person. I am just, and sometimes cutting, the most powerful thing that we can do is cutting off people, is really what I've seen a lot of people struggle, and they've tried to do all, now it's not like in Charmed when you do a ritual that it's just gonna automatically, you're gonna have this, things are gonna be solved. I'm gonna say, no, it doesn't, because sometimes there's a lot more that goes on. For instance, there's something that's called a cord cutting, where you get two candles and you put a thing of twine and wrap it around on either candle, and then the candle will very slowly go down, and then will sever the tie. And this could be anything. This could be any addiction you have. It could be a person. It could be an ex. You're not burning them out. That's not the idea. You are cutting a cord. Now, some people have tried doing that and they can't because of this abusive person that they're trying to get over. And the reason is because if you're constantly around that person, then you might not be, cutting the cord. That's not going to be doing that. All that is, there's nothing really magical about that. It's a ritual, but it's just like anything. It's just like you opening the door and locking it, brushing your teeth, going out into the, having a drink, doing things like that. It's very simple, but it's a visual key. It's supposed to show you what your mind and your heart are supposed to be doing. It's a visual, you're doing something that you can do with your hands, and that's all that magical rituals are, essentially, is visual learning tools that tell you, okay, I'm not going to, that's why Buddhists burn certain things. So yeah, burning can be really can be powerful, but you have to believe that that's what you're actually doing. If you don't believe it, or if you have some other holdups, it's not going to be working. Magic isn't one of those things where you're just going to automatically go, it's all the way. It's like affirmations. When people have affirmations are a kind of magic, actually. Anything can be magic if it works, and through it takes hard work, okay, to change the way your mind works. And it takes visualization. Maybe you need to write those things down, say them out loud. But affirmations are a way of utilizing what your brain already does. It's repetitive. You have a habitual brain. It keeps going. So that's all that is. And people keep thinking that it's this weird thing, that there's like some chicken foot and some sort of bowl, and then you're saying some weird mumbo jumbo that's in Latin. It's not like that. That is the Hollywood version. That is the movie stuff, and sometimes they get it mixed up with Satanists. That's different. Yes, there's some satanic rituals that may have been inspired by some magic rituals out there, but magic rituals were kind of just meant to be a fun representation of what was going on. For instance, some of the dances that are done that you see in the Jane Austen movies, those were dances that were supposed to represent the harvest. They were supposed to represent, so them coming into a circle. If you notice the circle that they're going in, that 5-pointed star, just the circle that they're going in, represents the circle of life, the Lion King. That's literally what it is. And that's and when it comes to spirituality, same thing with voodoo. Okay, voodoo is not demon worship like people think that is. I read a few things about it. I listened to a few books. It was a little too complicated for me. It was like, I think I'm fine with what I'm doing, because it seemed like it was a lot of different. But I do respect people that practice voodoo, because It is, so if you're wondering what it is, it's literally just calling upon the great spirit of Wakanda, okay? That's what it is. It's just ancestor worship. It's them calling upon the spirits, and asking help. It's really, that's all that is. It's just asking the ancestors or the people. Um, it's not as demonic as people portray it. The reason it was demonized is because the man that reinstated it, his family were Catholic, and they were firmly against this because they wanted, they had this idea of like, well, we're supposed to be worshiping God, we're supposed to be doing this, and they were very stubborn, and so they didn't want that, essentially. So they told everybody about zombies and demons and all of that, and so there's nothing demonic about voodoo or hoodoo. It's really just about ingredients and rituals. It's the same thing as witchcraft. It's really just not. It's not that exciting. Maybe there's some dances that are involved with it, but that whole zombie thing, that was, yeah. There's not anybody that's telling you that it's about demon worship obviously doesn't understand what it is, and I was a little suspicious of it. But during the 80s, there was a lot of misinformation about what it was, and they really demonized the shamans at the time that were doing this. But I can tell you that in a lot of these communities in Africa and in just third world countries, a lot of times these shamans, these witch doctors, these voodoo, the medicine men, those kind of things, the people that are around, those are sometimes the only people that give them medical advice. They are the only people that help them. Because in Africa and in such countries, there's not a lot of, or Nepal, they don't give them health insurance. If you get a cut, or you get an infection, or you get something, you're up shit creek. You don't have a prayer. And so they have to go to their spiritual leaders who do help them. And there's some science behind it as well. For instance, a lot of the symbols that are used in magic are actual, are used in mathematics. Many of the methods, the medicinal things that these witches and spiritual leaders would give people is not just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It actually has developed into what we know as midwifery, otherwise the art of being a midwife, and has actually developed into what we know as medical science today. If it were not for a witch, some of us wouldn't be here. So, oh wow. Yeah. That explains a lot, because if you have any families that you think are kind of witchy, just by the fact of there's a difference between witchcraft and bitchcraft. Okay, sometimes if you have that one relative that's just like crotchety and all that, that explains it. But if it weren't for some witch out there, witches birthed the babies, they did all sorts of things, they were very multi-talented, and they would conform to wherever they were. So and the thing is, you could go up to someone and not know that that's what they are. You're not necessarily somebody who has goth makeup on and a piercing and tattoo may not be a witch, but rather that wholesome girl with the pink dress and a big rosy cheeks, and she looks like a pretty princess. That might be a witch. You don't know that. Just remember Wizard of Oz. Glinda was beautiful. She was beautiful, and she was a witch. And it's actually in consideration that they believe that Dorothy was one as well. And I think, from the story, she definitely was. But there's a contrast. Just like there are good people and bad people. Dark people and happy people. There's all sorts of people out there. And, but whether they're dark or happy or good or bad, every witch is going to be very unique, and you can't, unfortunately, a lot of people put witches in a box. They put them in a slot and put them all in the same category. And it's just like, okay, all the Satanists, we're going to put them over here. All the Masons and the Illuminati, oh, we can't forget them. Let's put them there. And we're going to put them with the witches. Because they're all the same. Yeah, just like all Christians are the same, right? Yeah, right? No, everybody has their different beliefs too. There's different kinds of Christians, just like that. There's different kind of witches. So, there you go. Anyway, it's been really nice. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed day, and I hope this was helpful. And don't burn any wishes, okay? And don't burn anything unless it's meant to be burned, like candles and incense and Palo Santo, and I don't know. Just don't do that. Burning never solves anything. Don't burn anything unless you have to. That's my recommendation. But stay blessed and stay